Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the Expert with Elliot Catlin. Cannabis, marijuana, Mary Jane, pot, legal and making money. That's what our show is about today. We're going to be talking with John Mueller, one of the founders of Greenlight Industries. Very excited what they're doing. We're going to talk about that. If you want to reach me for any reason, I'm at 925-314-8503. It's prosperityfinancialgroup.com. Elliot, E-L-L-I-O-T, at prosperityfinancialgroup.com. We've got top 73 recordings already on our website. Take a look at them, listen to them. They make great podcasts and great videos. So let's talk about the CBD. Let's talk about the marijuana industry, what's going on there. So John, before I get into, welcome to our show, John.
Thanks. Thanks for having me today.
That's great. Thank you. So I want to talk to you first about what's generally going on in the industry. And then specifically, I'm in California, you're in the Midwest. What's going on in different places? Because the whole legal cannabis industry really came out of Colorado and Denver on that. And they have experienced both positive and negative as a result of it. California is kind of upside down on the legal cannabis industry. There's, of course, oils that I could buy that do some good things. And for somebody like me that's got a bad neck and 4 back surgeries, that could be beneficial. But is it real and is it quality control? I mean, there are lots of questions that I, as a consumer, have, even though that's not even legal, some of that in California. And then there's just the medical use of it, legitimately medical use of it. And the experiment that that Oregon did of legalizing all pot, they decided to go all the way, and they're reversing that now. So there are lots of big upheavals and changes going on in the cannabis industry, and you're trying to be the beneficiary of all these things, correct?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so why don't you give us a quick update of where we've come from and where you see it going, the legal cannabis industry.
Yeah, so first, Greenlight operates in 7 states, so we see both medical and the adult use markets. As we expand, we are not in California out of design, and we're not in Colorado out of design. So the two you mentioned, we like to stay focused in limited license states where we have plenty of regulators, controlled testing, things like that control a market and make sure one's not on every corner like you see in the Oklahomas or, quite frankly, the Californias of the world. So we operate in 7 different markets. We operate in both medical and adult use. So happy to share my comments on that. Obviously, Colorado came out of the gate first with adult use. To my knowledge, they've paid over $1 billion in tax revenue out there, and other than some highly conservative people, I don't know that the stats would indicate that that's been a real problem for the state of Colorado. When I was doing the adult use amendment out in Nevada, which is where I got my start, all the political campaigns were talking about how the number of kids that were ending up in ERs immediately after they went to adult use doubled. And that was the big campaign slogan. Adelson and Company was running the campaigns, and we did further research, and it went from two kids that ended up in the ER to 4 kids. And so it's not, maybe don't read all the stats, and obviously opponents of anything can spin any stat. So that was a good example out there of what transpired. And I'm happy to report all 4 of those kids, unlike the opioid crisis and fentanyl and all the other things, all 4 of those kids ended up going home to their parents the same day.
So that's good. I'm glad you said that, because when we do look at statistics, 2 to 4 is doubling. That's not a lie. It's just a really small pool of people. All right. So the marijuana business, the cannabis business, are you in all aspects of the business, from the oils and the essences to the actual product that I would eat or smoke?
Yeah. Depending on the state, we try and be a vertical operator in all of our markets. Not quite there in all of them yet, but we like to take it from seed to sale, as they say. So
okay, let me ask you some questions, because I'm somebody that would be a good buyer for you, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening to this are people like me, that former quasi jocks or jocks, and every part of their body hurts every day of the week. Their knees, their back, their hips, their necks, their elbows, their shoulders, and what have you. So we look at this burgeoning cannabis oil business, or essence, or whatever we want to call the supplement business, and maybe we're not looking to get high. That's not the purpose of what we want to do. We want to get the aches and the things, cramps out of our body. So how is that happening? My alternative is kind of the Bengay products, these heavy smelling menthol or non-smelling, whatever. And, they have limited success. Tell me how this is a viable alternative, because I think I'm your typical buyer, your typical target market. I'm not the kid who's 20 or 30 and wanting to get high, and I'm your person that actually sees legitimacy here.
Yeah, no. So like, my mother's a preacher, and kind of in the same boat. Isn't interested in getting high, but we have a cream with THC, CBD in it that she rubs on her arthritis every single day. And so in the state of Missouri, as an example here, so anytime you can take a natural plant product and use that instead of Bengay, or Bengay is not bad for you, but some of these other opioids where you're popping pills every day, I think we're winning as a human race. So, but and she gets much more benefit and comfort because we're opening up her CB1 receptor, and you can basically receive medication a lot more efficiently. Obviously, anytime you put a cream or oil on, your skin is designed to not receive it as well as you would as putting something under your tongue or something along those lines. But she sees a benefit to exactly what you're talking about today in the creams and balms that we produce.
I think that's great. We're talking with John Mueller of Greenlight. We're in the financial business. We built portfolios. Years ago, we were very excited to build portfolios. Cannabis is part of it. And then the whole world kind of got messed up on making money with it. These were all Canadian companies at that point. So I want to get back to the money side, and then I want to get back to the product. So pardon me for jumping a little bit. I apologize.
No, I love it.
We got an audience that's very interested here in finance. How do I make money with this? And how do we do that? And we know that cannabis industries in Canada, they've not been really profitable, and the success rate has been kind of crappy in that world. And
well, I think you look at obviously the operators up in Canada, they don't have the population base or the consumer base to keep up with what they have up there. And then the restrictions up there are not as good as in the United States. And so obviously you look at the just economies of scale here. So you have a number, we got big five, as we call them, of the cannabis operators. We are a private company. We are profitable every month. We produce dividends for our shareholders, but we're private, so it doesn't impact your guys. But there are operators out there that are producing results right now. We've raised a very, very limited amount of capital to, basically go out and build about a $300 million company as we sit today. And we're doing it off the profits of the cannabis company. So those do exist in the world. A bunch of the Canadians that went out, they overspent and didn't focus on margin structures as much as they should. So if you look at the true Canadian companies, not obviously every U.S. operator has to list on the Canadian Stock Exchange, the NEO, et cetera, just because of the Schedule 1 drug as we sit here today. But basically, the U.S. operators, you can go in and buy a Verano, VRNO, on the NEO at a 5 times multiple today. And what you're going to see in short order for your client base that's watching this show, you can buy it at 5 times earnings deal, where your average S&P's 13 or 14 today. So they can go and pick up a cannabis stock. Once we go from Schedule 1, all of a sudden it's going to flip to Schedule 3. Their tax code completely changes. Right now, we basically pay double the tax of your traditional widget business when you're in the weed business. So it's going to completely flip the cash flows for every one of these businesses. And this is coming. We thought it was going to be coming in the second half of this year. They now have the hearing scheduled for December 3rd with the DEA. It's just a formality. The only question now is obviously it won't be done by inauguration, but it's very interesting for your financial people. You have both presidential candidates that are now pro-cannabis, with Donald Trump coming out for Amendment 3 down in Florida, where he will be voting for adult use cannabis. Think about that as a Republican conservative coming out and voting for cannabis. So we have a seismic shift here in the United States. So there's a huge opportunity to go ahead and also play around in some of these bigger public stocks that are actually showing EBITDA numbers that are in the $300 million range to go out and invest in. I think just about every one of the stocks has been hammered since 2021. Everybody's down on the market and have all been beaten up. But as dollar cost averaging would tell you, you would want to get in my opinion. And obviously, I don't have public stock. I don't want any investors, etc. But looking at some of these cannabis stocks, it's a great time to be looking at those. As we sit here today, we're about to flip that. The other one is we are about 11% of the alcohol market as we sit here today. Every indication is that's going to 22, 23%. So you got a doubling of these businesses. And you also couple that with Donald Trump coming out in Florida, you're going to have a huge catalyst. If Florida on next month basically goes adult use, that's going to be a $4 or $5 billion market down there, which Trulieve and Curaleaf, Verano, GTI, all going to be the benefit of.
Well, that's exciting. So when we build portfolios, so if this is of interest to people that want to know more, can I add cannabis? Should I add cannabis? What's the upside? What's the downside? You just mentioned a little bit of it. They've been beaten up in the last 3 years too. If you were in 3 years ago, you're down significantly. Somewhere it's up 90%, but maybe it's a buying opportunity unless you're morally opposed to it. And then of course you shouldn't own anything you're morally opposed to, period on that. But if you knew what drug companies did with opioids and how they work with them, but they can't do the same thing with cannabis because of blocks from the 1970s, laws from the 1970s that don't even allow them to experiment on. We're talking about a sore neck. If that does go away, and eventually it will, there's no question about it. When that does go away, they're going to end up having to put excise stamps on cannabis, and it's going to look a lot like alcohol from the 1930s. As the G-men, so to speak, had a big G undershirt for green light, as the G-men come in and figure out how to make money on that, because it's going to be all about money at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I think at least Trump and Vice President Harris are both going to push this back to states' rights. So looking at where these operators are operating, are they in limited license states where there's value in licenses and things like that, and they can effectively, churn a profit in every dispensary cultivation they're operating in, and getting back to the fundamentals as people have had to, because the equity markets are so screwed up right now. They've had to focus on their core operations, just like every other industry. And I don't see for another decade or so before any borders are opening up. Every state wants to keep that tax revenue local, so I think they're going to have a heck of a time getting a lot of people in Congress to change that.
No, they just will add an excise tax above and beyond that. Just like we have a gas tax. You have a state gas tax and a federal gas tax. They have a state alcohol tax, a federal excise. They're both excise taxes. I imagine we'll have the same thing. Let me talk about California with you for a moment, because so many of our listeners are in California. So the joke about legalized cannabis in California is that was the best thing that ever happened to the illegal pot scene. It boomed that to the point, and buoyed that industry to the point that it's no one's making money anymore for the most part in the cannabis industry in the state of California compared with what they wanted to do. Now that's a big generalization. So we know there are certainly legal places that are making a lot of money, but what they expected and what they got were two totally different results. And California is not reaping what Colorado has been reaping at all. So what happened in California?
Yeah, they basically tried to put the genie back in the bottle. And it was already out and flowing for years, and they did no regulations, controls. The number out there, obviously, you look at it like it's similar to a state like Oklahoma, which I haven't looked at the stats in California lately, but Oklahoma has 20,000 licensed operators. You can't hire enough regulators to come in and basically make sure they're paying their taxes, they're controlling that product, they're not shipping outside the state. All of the black market used to come out of northern California, and basically with the tax rates out there, so just like their income tax and everything else, they have these huge tax rates on it. So if you want to operate and be competitive, you can't do it. So you go to the black market. Every time there's these huge tax rates on anything, you're going to get black market. Same thing if they would do it on alcohol or anything else. You basically create your own black market within there, and then you collect zero taxes. So there's a happy medium between the government trying to get the cannabis industry to pay for schools and roads and all that other stuff we want to pay for, or going to the extreme where you're going into general funding and you're overtaxing, which forces people into the black market. And then there's too many entities out there, and all of them are not making money. So what do? They start going to the black market and shipping product outside the state of California. It's a complete mess up there. Reason we won't go there. We used to have an operation there. There was 13 levels of regulators associated with anything we did, from the local EPA of California all the way down agriculture, local zoning, local state taxes, tax authorities, and going up to obviously in Sacramento. So we abandoned that ship as quick as we could. Happy to do so. And until they figure out a way to put a regulatory environment on there, tax it, and control it, we definitely are not going back to California anytime soon.
John, how unusual that the state of California overregulated an industry and then totally messed up the outcome. How unusual.
So such a shocker. You would have never guessed. But no, they tried to put the genie back in the bottle, and I don't know how. I don't think anybody has the will to go out and figure that out. As these other markets are coming online, it's cheaper to get the black market out of a screwed up state like Oklahoma right now than it is California for the people that operate in those markets. It's just a train wreck.
Well, we're talking about cannabis, everyone. And if you need to talk to me, I'm at Elliot, ELLIOT, at prosperityfinancialgroup.com. And there are lots of episodes like this on prosperityfinancialgroup.com. John, we're talking with John, he and his brother founded Greenlight. It's a privately held company with $300 million of sales. We're not talking about your corner store, your cannabis shop that's trying to pay the rent in a retail. We're talking about a major organization now. So congratulations to you, John, for vertically integrating the cannabis industry. What does that mean to people listening? Vertical integration in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, so we're investing in cultivation, manufacturing facilities. Meaning you're bringing in from a seed, growing it all the way through the process. About a 90-day process to grow a plant, and then obviously you go through testing, and then obviously producing off the trim material, producing your vape pens, the balms we just talked about, et cetera, gummies, and all the other products. So we make a full suite of products there, and we don't do any license deals. So these are all under one of our internal brands, and then obviously shipping that out to our stores and also our customer stores, which are other dispensary operators in the states we operate in. So we control it through the system. Also in my dispensaries, I also buy every other vendor's products in there, because the cannabis consumer is very fickle. If you produce one product or one thing, we've got 1,400 different SKUs in our stores, which is one, quite frankly, too many. But the cannabis consumer is very fickle. Once they try something new, you got to constantly be innovating as you're going through the process. But producing a great consumer experience that wants to bring them back, just like any business, you got to take care of the consumer. You have nothing else.
Okay. So would you call yourself a company, John, that's in the recreational marijuana world or on the cusp of the medical marijuana world?
Well, we operate in both. Obviously, the margin structures and sales volumes are about 2x when you go from a medical market, 2 to 3x, actually 2.2 times across the country. When you go from a medical market to adult use market. So obviously more volume through the stores. The profitability is obviously better in an adult use market versus a medical market. But we also believe that every state, just like we're helping fund the campaign up in Nebraska, we want to see them go into a medical market and get that established. And then if they wanted to have another ballot initiative for adult use later on, that's up for the voters to decide.
Let me ask you an efficacy question, because this has come up with people I know that use gummies.
Yep.
So the complaint about gummies in general is that they're made kind of like brownies. You could have a piece with more or less in it. Gummies could have more or less because it's a food product, and it's not an exact science when you make a food product. You just can't make it an exact science. When it's a pill, you can. No question about that. When it's a bomb, it's like, if it's not properly spread out in the entire bottle, then you could be getting more or less with any type that you're putting on right now. But the gummies, I have friends that are taking them at night and they can't sleep without these anymore. But they admit that sometimes when they take them, and I don't mean in your state, but particularly Florida, the East Coast, sometimes they work more and sometimes they work less because it's a gummy. Is that a problem in the industry?
It's not a problem. Like obviously, I would get a new vendor if I was them. But we're tested for 54 different things. One of which, to their point, is the THC or Delta 9 in that product. So we only get in like the state of Missouri, where I'm sitting here today, we only get a 10% variance. So let's say I'm producing a 10 milligram gummy, which is what we would call a dose for the person, the normal person, like the guy on 60 Minutes. Let's talk about they take 250 milligrams a day. That's their normal to control Parkinson's and things like that. So there's a wide range of humans in between there. But the way we're producing today is no different than a pill format. Obviously, the bulk of that pill that you're taking is not actually medicine. It's just a carrier so you can put the medicine in that pill. Same thing with the gummy. We have to portion that and get disbursement of the cannabis oil that we test before it goes in there, so we know the exact THC quantity of that. And then obviously it's up to our task of getting the emulsion to basically produce a 10 milligram gummy every single time with only a 10% variance is all we're allowed in these randomized. So they pick gummies out of different packages and go test those. And so they have to be, they can't be over 11 milligrams in any gummy. So whoever they're getting those from is definitely playing at the kids' table versus a sophisticated operator.
Again, that's the difference of a legal dispensary versus illegal, making it in your kitchen.
Yeah. And you look at all these Delta 8 products out here that are completely untested, that are coming, from China and every other country right now, as that's slowly getting regulated across the country. Like we kicked them out of Missouri here, but that stuff, where there's no childproof packaging, there's no testing, there's nothing else associated with it, and they're in this little window of the Farm Bill where they think they can get away with just about anything without testing any products. You have no idea what you're getting in that product.
John, on a separate note, do you think the deluge in the last 3-4 years of fentanyl coming in illegally in this country is giving a black eye to the entire industry, including cannabis?
I think it's actually helping the legal cannabis market. I hate to bring up this story, but we had somebody take a joint in West Virginia. They bought it in the black market. They had 5 people that were, passing around a joint, having a good time. 4 of those people got Narcan, and 1 person died because whoever they bought that for laced that with fentanyl. And so that story is the scariest thing, not for us, but the country as a whole, and why people should be going to some place that they can look on the back, know it's tested, know it's regulated, versus buying on the black market. It's scary. And I like the cocaine dealers, I don't know how they're selling anything now, because everything's laced with fentanyl and things that can kill you nowadays on the black market. So it's a very scary time we have in the country right now.
So basically, a recreational drug could be a death sentence.
Yeah, if you don't know how it was produced, if it was tested, if it wasn't tested, and if you don't know that the source of anything you're taking, quite frankly, it's a scary prospect.
John, we've talked a lot about the cannabis industry, green light, what you guys are doing with that. Very exciting. We're Prosperity Financial Group. We help our people make money and put this into portfolios. You've got more than 40 stores right now in 7 states. How do people reach you?
Go to greenlightdispensary.com, or obviously Google John Mueller or Greenlight. I do a ton of these podcasts, and obviously we're pretty much open book over here as a private company. We can talk a little bit more than my peers can that run their public companies. But greenlightdispensary.com is the best way to reach us.
Great. And is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, I think there's a lot of people are down on the industry. I feel like we're just in the first quarter of this. We're going to double in volume to catch up the alcohol guys. I know 100% instead of having that Tito's, that cannabis is better for you. And I think you're starting to see the sentiment across the country of the Just Say No Nancy Reagan, which I used to be one of those, starting to convert over to a cannabis product. When anytime you can take a natural plant product, it's better for your body.
Well, if you can get my neck and my back and my knees to stop hurting, I don't have to take all those over-the-counter creams from CVS. I'm going to be all ears, I can tell you that.
I love it.
And if you're like a former jock like I am, maybe I'm giving myself too much credit on that, but then you know that you hit a certain age when every morning becomes pain management. And so it would be nice if that didn't happen.
Well, go give it a whirl. Obviously, if you come visit us here in one of the states we operate in, I'd love to see you in person.
I'm happy to trade you a bottle for Kansas City steak anytime.
Yeah, that's a deal.
John, thanks for being part of the Prosperity Financial Group and Meet the Expert with Elliot Callan. Catch all of our episodes on www.prosperityfinancialgroup.com. Very exciting cannabis. If you're interested in that, reach out to John and John's company, Greenlight Dispensary. You're going to get some great information, and you're going to get straight information, which is so important because there's a lot of nonsense in every single industry that's brand new. And this is relatively new. Like John said, we're in a first or the second inning of an entire 9-inning game. And so there's bad information. I've got lots of friends that are doing the sleep aids, the neck aids, the hurting aids, the brownie aids, whatever they're doing, whatever works for you. I don't want to get hooked on my brownies because there's nothing better than having a brownie with chocolate chips or M&M peanuts inside of them. So that's the last thing I want to do is get hooked on eating more of those. I don't need them. But this has been great. And John, I look forward to speaking with you again. Thanks for being part of our show.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.